Welcome back to Movies Recap channel. Today, we will recap the movie American vampire thriller film Night Teeth. A young driver gives a ride to two mysterious women, expecting a night of partying. However, when these women unveil their hidden identities, he finds himself in a fight for survival. Let's jump into the story. Late at night, Jay Perez goes to pick up his girlfriend, Maria, from a laundromat. While they're in the car, Jay notices they're being followed by a Maserati. His reaction shows that he recognizes that car, and he's not happy to see it. Suddenly, they both stop, and Jay grabs a gun. The guy driving the blonde Maserati is named Viktor, and he's a vampire. When the traffic light turns green, Jay hits the gas pedal and speeds away. Jay gets out of the car to confront Viktor and tells Maria to drive away. Inside a basement, he finds three injured people hanging upside down. Meanwhile, Maria is about to start the car, but someone smashes the window. Jay hears the noise but can't find Maria in the car. In Benny's room, we learn that he likes skating and Naruto. While he's making music, he overhears his brother Jay talking on the phone. Jay works as a chauffeur for really rich folks, but today, he's got other stuff to do. So, Benny wants to take his place and earn some money. At first, Jay is unsure, but he eventually gives Benny a chance and hands him the car keys. Benny's job is to drive people in a fancy black Cadillac Escalade. This car can be started with just a button. Since Benny is covering for Jay tonight, he has to pretend to be Jay. Benny is super excited to drive such a cool car and wear a fancy outfit. You can tell from his face that he's as happy as a kid who just got the toy they wanted for Christmas. In the evening, Benny drives to a big house to pick up his clients. He's pretty nervous and wants to look really professional. Suddenly, a beautiful red-haired girl comes out of the house. Benny gets mixed up and thinks she's Zoe Moreau, but her name is Blair. Blair is actually a close friend of Zoe's. Benny ends up embarrassing himself because Blair notices his zipper is down, and he doesn't know he's supposed to open the car door for her. It's clear that this is his first time working as a personal driver. Finally, we meet Zoe Moreau, who has quite a unique personality. She's a bit feisty but has a touch of elegance. Benny's job is to drive the girls to 5 different places until the sun comes up. While they're in the car, the girls want to play a game with Benny. They ask him what he would do if he knew that tonight was going to be his last night. Blair and Zoe are expecting something spectacular, but Benny says he's a pretty chill guy and doesn't have any particular fantasies. At this point, Zoe asks him jokingly if he's going to kill her, Blair, or even his grandmother. Benny tries to sound professional but ends up making a joke that he'd kill Zoe. As they continue their ride, Benny keeps looking at Blair because he really likes her. They reach their first destination, which is a masked party. Before entering the mansion, the girls show an amulet with a red stone. Apparently, you need one of those to get inside. Meanwhile, Jay is figuring out how to deal with the vampire issue that has started tonight because Viktor has kicked off a war. The girls haven't returned yet, so Benny gets out of the car to get some fresh air. On the ground, he finds the same amulet they had. Soon after, the girls come out of the mansion and head to their next stop. They pull into an underground parking lot, and just like before, Benny has to wait for them. During this time, Benny notices that Zoe has left her phone in the car. He also sees texts from Viktor, who's looking for Jay. This is strange because, for the night, Benny is supposed to be Jay. Shortly after, Benny tries to call Jay, but Jay doesn't answer. This seems suspicious to Benny. He begins to sneak a peek into Zoe's purse and finds a lot of money with bloodstains in the middle of the bag. While he's counting the money, he accidentally gets blood on his face and shirt collar. As if things couldn't get worse, a police officer enters the parking lot. Benny doesn't waste any time and quickly gets out of the car, running inside where the girls have gone. Benny arrives at what looks like a hotel. At the entrance, he meets the concierge, who notices that Benny is very agitated, sweaty, and has a bloodstain on the collar of his shirt. She's about to call security, but everything changes when she sees the amulet in Benny's hand. The concierge immediately begins to apologize, and Benny tries to pretend that he's really the possessor of the amulet. The concierge walks Benny to the elevator and tells him to drink responsibly, but she isn't talking about alcohol. When Benny enters the room, he's petrified when he sees Blair and Zoe sucking blood from the necks of 2 guys. Zoe, with blood on her mouth, lifts Benny up with 2 hands and begins to scare him. At this point, Benny confesses that he isn't actually Jay but his brother. Zoe wants to suck his blood, deeming him useless since he's not Jay, but Blair manages to persuade her, telling her that Benny will take them to Jay. Suddenly, one of the guys wakes up. In fact, this party has been planned, and these 2 guys consciously chose to be food for the vampires. They were being paid to feed the vampires with their blood, but Zoe got a little too carried away and killed one of them. She doesn't think twice and tells Blair to finish off the second guy. In the meantime, Benny starts running outside. As soon as he arrives outside, He is stopped by the officer he ran away from earlier. Benny is desperate as he explains everything to the officer, but the officer doesn't seem surprised at all. Actually, he wanted to arrest Benny and take him away, but the two girls who had finished their meal interrupted. These girls and the officer appeared to know each other, and the officer knew they were vampires. After a brief discussion, the officer lets Benny go. Benny tries to text someone, but Zoe notices and breaks his phone. Meanwhile, Viktor, in his luxurious mansion, is enjoying fresh blood in the basement, where people are tied up and asleep inside glass boxes. After satisfying his thirst, Viktor leaves in his Maserati to visit some special people. Back with Benny, he's in the car with the two girls and attempts to escape again. He unbuckles his seatbelt and tries to get out of the car, but Zoe surprises him by appearing in front of him almost instantly. As for Viktor, he pays a visit to Grace and Eva, two very powerful vampires in the city. Viktor works for them, and the girls, Grace and Eva, work with Martin, another boss in LA. The girls find out that Viktor crossed into Boyle Heights and killed Maria, Jay's girlfriend. Now, the girls must decide how to punish Viktor because he broke a peace agreement that had been in place for years. Grace tells Viktor that he'll be banned from the town for a long time, but Viktor unexpectedly refuses to leave. After that, he uncovers his plan to take over all of LA. Eva tries to call Martin right away, but they don't know that Martin has already been killed by Viktor. They are breathless when Viktor pulls out Martin's ear like Mike Tyson. At this point, no one can save them, and they are both killed by Viktor. In the meantime, Benny and the girls have stopped at a market. Zoe goes out to buy something. In the car, Benny is very agitated, and Blair tries to calm him down. She reveals to him that vampires and humans live together in this town following certain rules. She also tells him that Zoe is Viktor's girlfriend. Blair and Zoe manage the money from different businesses and blood clubs. Viktor, having a thirst for power, has been planning this night for a long time. He wants to kill all 5 leaders of the city to take absolute power of the city. Blair also tells them that Jay, Benny's brother, runs the Boyle Heights territory, and Viktor wanted to use him to turn him against the city leaders. That's why Viktor killed Maria to provoke Jay. But the plan has changed as Benny showed up in Jay's place. So Benny is to take the girls to his brother. Between Benny and Blair, there is a spark, and the two are getting closer. In the meantime, Jay has regrouped his gang to hunt vampires. They arrive at the mansion of an LA boss named Gio. Gio tells Jay that Blair and Zoe came to his party and made this killing, plus they sucked pretty much all of his blood. So he urgently needs a drink. After revealing that Blair and Zoe are heading to the Three Kings, a popular club in LA, he is finished off by gunshots. Blair, Zoe, and Benny head to the Three Kings club, and the girls want Benny to come with them so he doesn't run away. Before entering the club, Benny is recognized by his college friends. They stop Benny to use him so they can get in, then they start making fun of him for being a driver. Blair can't stand them and grabs Benny and starts kissing him. Meanwhile, Jay and his crew have already arrived at the club and are looking for the two girls Gio mentioned. Inside the club, Blair and Zoe meet Caleb, a vampire hunter. Caleb is not alone, and within seconds, the girls are surrounded by a group of men. When they are about to kill them, Benny throws a bottle of champagne over Caleb's head, and everyone gets distracted. At that moment, the girls are able to liberate themselves thanks to Benny's impulsive move. As they are about to leave the club, Jay sees Benny and recognizes him. As he is about to follow him, he is stopped by one of the staff, and Jay, in a rage, takes the knife and strikes him in the heart. After that, the vampire falls to the ground and begins to burn. As the girls and Benny are about to get into the car, Jay's group starts hitting them with crossbows. They immediately get into the car, and Benny drives off. Zoe, as if there were no danger, sticks her head out the window and starts howling. Benny decides to help Blair and Zoe escape and lets them hide at his house. Benny's grandmother is scared to death and wants explanations right away. Benny has never brought a girl home before. In the meantime, Jay and his friends are stopped by the officer working for Viktor. He tells Jay that Viktor would like to talk to him at the Rosso Porro restaurant. At Benny's house, Zoe is talking to Viktor on the phone, and he tells her that there is only one boss left to kill. Throughout the night, Benny and Blair begin to like each other more and more. Blair, with her stunning charm, and Benny, with his simplicity, give Blair a melancholic feeling. You see, Blair used to be a human being and lived a normal life, but she was transformed by Zoe. Sometimes, she misses being human again. The time has come to leave for the next destination, and Blair doesn't want Benny to come to avoid putting him in danger. But he decides to go with her anyway. Meanwhile, Jay has arrived at the restaurant and meets Viktor. Viktor needs to make his last move and wants to waste Jay's time. While Viktor is talking to him, Jay pierces Viktor's head with a gunshot and is about to stab him in the heart with a knife. But Viktor stops his hand and starts to regenerate his head. After that, he reveals to him that he killed Maria and cooked her meat, exactly the meat she was eating. Benny and the girls arrive at Rocco's bar. A crazy guy named Rocco is confused. The three arrived unannounced, and he looks scared, but he's just freaked out. Zoe wanted to talk to him, so Benny and Blair went outside. Meanwhile, outside gets exciting because Benny and Blair start to talk about their past. After that, they start kissing passionately. Inside the bar, however, Rocco realized that Zoe was there to kill him. When she tried to attack him, Rocco managed to stop her. After that, Blair and Zoe started to fight against Rocco's friends. Meanwhile, Benny had climbed into the car and helped the girls by hitting one of the vampire hunters with the car. The night was over, and Blair and Zoe reached their targets, but Zoe had been injured and needed blood. Benny leaves the girls at the last place on their list and discovers that the house belongs to Viktor. Blair urges him to leave, but Benny refuses to abandon his brother, who was inside the house. Benny finds several human prisoners held by Viktor as blood bags to feed on, including Jay. Benny is captured by Viktor while trying to free him. Viktor and Zoe then threaten to kill him. Zoe realizes that she has feelings for Benny. Viktor hands Zoe a knife, and she, in a rage, punches Blair in the stomach in retaliation. Benny remotely activates his brother's car, breaking a window and exposing sunlight that kills Zoe. Viktor then attacks Benny using Jay as bait and manages to bite Benny before Jay confronts him in the sunlight, killing him. Benny soon turns into a vampire, and the brothers part ways after Jay decides to begin training as a professional vampire hunter. He tells Benny that he expects him to fight by his side when the city descends into chaos. Later that night, Benny meets Blair for a night of blood drinking. And that is the end of this movie.